preheat my mash tun where the grain goes in.
Okay, 3 gallons of water.
Yeah.
You're going to heat it up at 182 degrees?
180, 190 degrees.
189, 190. And this is your grain?
That's the grain. 10 pounds of 2-row, 8 ounces of Munich.
Okay, this is 10 pounds of 2-row.
That's 10 pounds of the 2-row.
Okay, that's 2-row. And this is your...
That is the Munich grain, crystal grain, and chocolate grain.
Okay. So this is just another type of grain.
This will be a porter. This is going to be a porter beer.
Okay. And then this just gives a little more flavor.
The flavor and color.
Flavor and the color. Right. Okay. All right. And we're at about 176 degrees.
That's it.
Okay, this is what you put in your...
That's for more flavoring
Yeah.
and color.
That's what that is right there. Okay.
Okay. Good. Now this is the mash tun. This is where the grain goes in. This is called a bazooka screen. It's a stainless steel screen to filter out the grain.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes.
This is some of that Southern engineering, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Okay.
I wonder if Budweiser does this.
They've got something similar to it. Okay, we're about 180 degrees.
He stole that from the field house. Okay. Okay, that's 180 degrees.
Yes.
Goes in there.
And you're preheating this so that whenever you put your grain in, that it will hold the temperature more consistent.
And with that, it'll stay in that temperature for a long time, won't it?
Yeah, what you just want, you're wanting to heat this unit up in here that whenever you put your grain in the water, that it won't drop the temperature as much.
Right.
So it's just, you're preheating.
Because you want that grain at what temperature?
155 degrees.
Right.
So if you put it in there cold, well then it would drop. So this just a,
Just try to keep the temperature at 155 all the time.
well, you're just preheating this unit
Yes.
here that whenever
Right.
you put that other grain in there, you don't drop your lose so much temperature.
Right.
Now we'll get 2 gallons of water in these 2 bins here, 2 units.
2 gallons.
2 gallons in each one of these, in these 2 pans. And it goes to, I'll bring the temperature up about 168 degrees.
So 2 gallons boiling, or bring it to 162 degrees.
degrees.
168 degrees. And this water is boiling for,
When I put my grain in, it will drop temperature, and I want my grain at about 158 degrees.
so this is what your grain,
That's what the grain
the
goes
grain is
in.
going to set in, right?
Yes.
This is the water for the grain. And by 168 degrees, when you put the grain in, you know it's going to drop. It'll drop to 162.
About 158.
I mean 158, right.
158, 160.
Because what temperature do you want your grain?
That's what I want. My grain, if you want a real dry beer, then you want it at about 152 degrees. If you want a more flavorful, a little sweeter beer, then you do it at 160 degrees, your grain temperature. I shoot for 154 to 156.
You want both worlds.
Yep.
You want the dryness
Try to
and then the sweetness of the flavor.
the temperature I should.
Right.
I don't know whether we can talk or not.
No, we were talking and it went up to 482 degrees.
About 168, 170. When you get the grain there, we'll drop it to about 156, 158. You know. To put in that porter, that's that one we put in the IPA, but there's just a little dab there, and I'm gonna put it in there.
Now you and your hops.
Come on here, got your drink. Okay, there we are, 168, 170, and pretty damn close.
Okay, we're at 168.
168 and 170. Okay, we'll turn the fire off. And now we're ready for the grain. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Okay, and you don't boil it.
No.
You just let it sit in that.
If you get it over 170 degrees, it'll run the grain. It won't. It's not good.
Right.
Now you could put this directly into your mash tun if you had a way of controlling the temperature. But I put it in these pans, and if it drops down too low, then I can reheat them before I put it into the mash tun.
Now, how long does it set in here?
Until I just get my temperature stabilized at about 158 degrees, 156, 158, which is about 10 minutes.
So as soon as it turns 158 degrees,
I put it in the
put it
other.
in the other container.
I pour my preheat water out, and then I pour this in. You want to get all the lumps out. It's 155 degrees. 156 degrees. I'm going to heat this one up just a little bit. I'm going to heat them both up just a little bit. 158, because I want some flavor in this porter. I think more flavor. So I'm going to try to get it about 158. And this temperature here, if you're trying to make a consistent beer over and over again, this is the critical temperature right here.
Yeah, the water and that water jug will go into the ice chest. Okay, 158 degrees. Put the lid on it.
Yeah. Temperature gauge in it. Well, shit. Okay. That's better. Okay.
You want to stay at 158 degrees, try to.
About 156, 158, 156,
Yeah.
in that range.
But you've got to,
And it sits here for an hour.
your window is 152 degrees, 170, isn't it?
In here,
Yeah.
the window is 152 to 158.
Okay. So you don't want more than 158.
Yeah.
152 to 158.
And it is, what time? 8:45.
And how long does it set in there now?
1 hour.
Sets 1 hour? And with that ice chest, it'll maintain that temperature on it for an hour?
Here?
Yeah. Pretty
Yeah,
much,
it usually drops a couple of degrees.
which is no problem.
Right. Ideally, you'd set it at 155 and it would always be at 155.
Right.
But this here, I usually lose around 2 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you want the grain to set in there for 10 minutes, you said?
Usually it takes about 10 minutes to get my temperature stabilized in both pots.
Okay, so 10 minutes in the pot after you pour your grain in there. Just make sure you want that temperature at
Stabilized.
158 degrees.
And if it takes 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but what you're wanting is to stabilize the temperature in those two pots. For a mash out, and that's when that grain that's in the mash tun has converted up all the starches to sugar. You want to raise that temperature to 168 degrees.
So you're going to start boiling water for that. Why 168 degrees? Why 168 degrees? That's what they say?
You can start, you just get a better recovery of your solution. You know, right now you can let that sit there and you can start draining, but it's real thick.
Right.
So you add boiling water to it to bring it up to 168 degrees, and then let it set, and then you start collecting. So you actually thin your solution down in it, and you recover your liquid better.
The 168 degrees won't bother the 155 that you want?
No, it's already converted.
It's already converted over, so it doesn't matter.
All the sugar is supposed to be converted by
Okay,
then.
so you can add whatever temperature, right.
Right.
And how many gallons do you usually bring to boil on that? Or
It usually takes right at 3 gallons.
3 gallons.
So I try to get about 3.5 gallons.
And you want that at 168 degrees?
I want this at 212.
Oh, 212
to bring that 150 degree water up to 168.
Okay. So you'll boil this in?
I'll boil this.
And you start adding water?
An hour from now, I'll start adding water to bring it up to that 168 degrees.
Okay.
So there's almost 4 gallons of water. Okay. All right, we're at a standstill again.
We don't do anything.
Need to get this pan washed, and then we'll get our heating unit up. Did you get the heating element in it?
No. There's a heating element inside this to maintain that. That's his homemade temperature gauge.
Thermostat.
Thermostat. And this thermostat right here, it'll maintain at 168 degrees.
I do that about 170 degrees.
170 degrees.
And then I had about 3 gallons of water, so I put about 7 gallons of water in here.
Now, how many gallons of water did you start off with in this?
About 3.
Okay, 3 gallons of that. Okay.
And I won't use all of it, but I want to make sure I have enough water
Right.
that it don't run out when I'm recovering.
Got a little leak, Paul, Dad.
Huh?
Got a little leak.
Yeah, I've got a little leak back there.
So you're gonna put about 7 gallons in here.
Yep.
Then when you start mashing, your boiling water, you'll just add to it to keep that temperature.
No, I just keep, I've got that heating on to keep it at the temperature.
Okay.
Okay. I bring this temperature up to 170 degrees.
Okay, so this is the grain at 152 to 158 degrees, and right now it's converting starches to alcohol.
Sugar.
Or to sugar. And they'll sit in there for an hour. Or until
Iodine test.
your iodine test.
I don't do it anymore.
Huh?
I don't do it anymore.
So you know it's going to work.
I just let it run over at least over an hour.
Mm-hmm.
It's been converting it in about 45 minutes to test it. So an hour. Okay, I'm gonna wash my other pan. Get it clean.
Okay, every 20 minutes you're supposed to stir it and check the temperature.
Okay, I'm 160 degrees. Which is a little bit warm. And I can add some cold water to it to cool it down. But I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna do that. Stir it a little more and we'll lose a little more heat. $158.
158.
All right, that's perfect. Okay.
Okay, we put the grain in the pot at 8:45. It sat there. No, it was 8:35.
8:25 we started, or 8:35 in the pots, and then 8:45 in the mash tun.
Yeah, 8:35 we put the grain in the pots, and it stayed in there for about 10 minutes to make sure you stabilize at that temperature. Then at 8:45 we poured the grain into the ice jug. And then at 9 o'clock, we opened it up, stirred it around, checked the temperature, and at that time the temperature was 158.
Okay, then this here.
It's 9:14, and the temperature is about 164, and we want about 170. So we're all right on that one.
Okay, let's go ahead and open up this here again, check it.
Okay, it's been another 15 minutes. Last time we checked was 9 o'clock. It's 9:15. Stir it up again. Check the temperature.
156.
156.
You got it running?
Yeah.
There's the consistency of the grain. Okay. (9:15), 156 degrees.
And this is the diary. There's his menu. What puts in it. And there's a time. 8:35. Grain to the 2 pots. 158 degrees. 8:45. Add the mash to the water jug. 9 o'clock, checked it, 158. 9:15, checked it, 156.
Oh, close. (200 degrees, so you're getting pretty close. Okay. And all I'm waiting on is time right now. It'll be about 9:35.
Check it again.
9:30, so another 5-10 minutes. This here should be brewed.
Also another 5 more minutes and it's done.
It should be. We'll go ahead and do an
Iodine test, yep. Because you put it on at 8:35. You put the grain in 2 pots. Right now it's 9:30. So it's been in there. Can I watch this right here now?
It's iodine.
Right. Okay, what's its purpose?
The iodine will tell if there's still any starch in the grain. If it turns brown or black, well then it's still starchy. If it's clear, it's all sugar.
You get juice from the...
A little darker beer. Still clear. So it should be, if it's starch, it'll be a real brown or black. Black is grayish color.
So as long as it stays clear, like the same color, then it's converted to sugar.
The sugar.
If you put the iodine on it, if it was dark and black, it's still starchy.
Still starchy.
Okay. So we got sugar. Okay, this is 170 degrees. We got that pot boiling.
You gotta have a pot of coffee.
Pot of coffee. It's too early in the morning to sample the brew.
Almost too early.
They even found the prize. The pride and joy. There's just 5 taps.
This is the reason we're brewing.
Yeah.
It's empty.
No kegs. Uncle Don was up this past weekend, and Uncle Pat. And they were thirsty. There's his
1 wine cooler and 1 beer. Okay. This is 210 degree water, and this is called mashing out. We're 156. Oh. Now we want to bring this up to 168 degrees.
168. And you just keep on adding the water until you get 168.
Right.
Whether it be 1 gallon, 2 gallons, 3 gallons, whatever much it takes.
I'm 60. 166.
And what does it usually take, about 2 gallons probably, would you guess, to bring it up?
I had almost 4 gallons.
4 gallons?
And I've used a little over 2 gallons.
So about 2 gallons in.
But it depends upon what you, if it's 152 degrees,
Right.
it takes more.
Right.
On the weekends, I call it play. More days.
168. And then this needs to set for 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay, it was 9:35 when you started adding the water to get the 168 degrees.
Okay. Now we're going to start recirculating. Okay, through with that. Sit there 5 or 10 minutes. That you thin that solution out, and you're going. It's a lot easier to recover the liquid. And then we'll start recirculating, and we'll run solution through, and then pour it back, and just keep recirculating until it clears up. And the grain bed acts as your filter. $166. So here we're just right on the button. Pretty close.
Okay, it's 9:48. Okay, now what are you doing now?
We're going to start draining. You're supposed to take 2 quarts of juice every 10 minutes. So I'm going to start drawing with the beer. And I'm going to recirculate. I just keep pushing it, pouring it back in until it clears up.
So really what you're doing is just filtering it.
Yes,
Because like right now it's all cloudy and murky. So each time you just go back and forth, and then it's just a filter system.
yeah,
Basically what you do now.
you're going to drain that through, and as it goes through that filter, as it goes through the grain filters.
Right. And how long will you do this?
Probably about 3 or 4 of those.
3 of those. And you don't want to go too fast because it won't filter.
it'll plug up.
It plugs up.
So I try to take about an hour to do 5 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
That's already clear. And you want to pour this real slow and try to spread it out where you don't make pockets in your grain bed. So I use a spoon to kind of spread it out where it doesn't pour in real and leave a pocket in the grain bed. You want your grain bed to be flat. Everybody's going through there pretty fast now. Too fast. Try to get that about half of that tube. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of okay. I think it's 1 gallon in 10 minutes.
1 gallon, 10 minutes.
Is kind of the recommended flow rate.
You want to do 5 gallons?
I do about 7 gallons, so it takes from I collect about 6.5, 7 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes about and I do it a little quicker than that, but it usually takes me right at an hour to get 7 gallons.
Is that a gallon? Is that half gallon?
It's 2 quarts.
2 quarts of half gallon.
Yeah. That should be about 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes to fill that.
Mm-hmm.
See, it's getting pretty clear. Getting pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Get one more and then we'll start collecting. That's clearing up pretty good to clear before you start collecting.
So whether it takes 2 gallons, 3 gallons, 4 gallons, 5 gallons, when the beer gets clear, then you're through.
But I usually run 3 or 4 of those, which would be a gallon and a half, 2 gallons.
Mm-hmm. Down this, your screen down there clogged up. What did you do to unclog it?
It's not the screen that clogs up. As you're recirculating, the real fine particles, they come down and settle on top of the bed, on top of the grain. And so I scratch if it starts plugging up, I just take a deal and scratch the top of the surface and then it starts draining again. The screen does not stop up. It's the top of the grain bed that you get the fines that settle on top of the bed.
On top of the screen?
On top of the grain bed.
Oh.
So you got your grain bed here like this, and you got water up here.
Yeah.
And that runs through, and then what you do, you build a layer of real fine.
Oh.
On top.
On top of it.
And you just scratch it, and it starts flowing again.
Oh, okay.
And I talked to that guy up at the city.
Yeah.
He said, "Oh yeah, so all the brewers they have a fork that rotates."
So it's on top of it.
On top of the grain bed.
Oh, okay.
So it's that real fine stuff that settles on top.
On top of your grain.
Yeah, we're having trouble with that.
Yeah.
And it's not the screen that plugs up, it's the grain bed itself. That's going to be a pretty dark beer.
Dark beer.
Oh, it looks good though.
So that was about 2 gallons.
So we're collecting. We are collecting beer.
And when you're collecting beer, you still want to keep that same pace of flow, don't you?
Yes. Looks like it's a little slow. All right, there's what I want right there. Now we've got about an hour to wait on that.
Okay, it's 10:03, and we started collecting.
Is an inch and a half is 1 gallon. So I've got a scale here set out, and then I'll measure it every 10 minutes because I want a gallon, at least a gallon every 10 minutes. And that's how I monitor it. And then,
So that is pretty critical.
well, it's just, you know, I don't want to sit here for an hour and a half, you know, so I check it to make sure that it's going.
Right. So at 10:12, you got 1 gallon?
I've got about a gallon and a half.
Gallon and a half. So you got about the right flow?
Huh?
You had about the right flow?
Got the right flow, that's just about right. Well, what I want right there.
1 gallon every 10 minutes, right?
Yes. Find the top of my grain bed, and then it scratches across the surface. Because as that beer draws down, the real fine lays on top of the grain bed and stops the flow.
And what's the purpose of this?
You want the water. They've got some of them that they turn, but you want the water to go all the way around the grain bed. You don't want the water to just go through one area and then just and collect the sugar out of one area. So this has got holes in the bottom of it, so the water is hitting the grain bed in all areas. You want the flow to go through the whole grain bed and not.
This just gives you more juice, more.
Yeah, there's not enough fluid in here. There's not 7 gallons of fluid in here.
Right.
You have to have this extra water to get your
7 gallons
to get your 7 gallons.
Right, of beer.
But you don't want your water to channel through your grain bed.
Right. And when you turn this on, just whenever it starts getting down lower.
Yeah, anytime.
Looks like you got holes every 6 inches.
Holes?
Yeah.
About every 3 inches.
Every 3 inches. And you'll let this run until you get 7 gallons of beer.
Yes. I don't have enough solution in here to get 7 gallons, so this is called sparging.
Sparging.
As you're adding the fluid into here to go through your grain bed.
And this temperature inside it was about 172 degrees?
Yeah, it's 172. The water here, by the time it comes out,
So you,
right inside my grain bed now is 155 degrees.
so you still want to maintain that 152 to 158 degrees?
Yes.
Okay.
Why, I don't know.
Right, but still be on the safe side. Maintain that.
I want to keep the temperature up on my mash.
Right. Yep.
Let's see what we got.
1022.
Right there. So what you got? And that right there, see, we got a little over 8 inches. Now we got 1 gallon this last time around. Okay, right there.
Ten 32.
So we got just a little over a gallon that time. See, that's just right on scale. 'Cause I try to collect more than a gallon. So what I did here, David, I checked the specific gravity at the end, and so I cooled this down to about 65, 70 degrees and checked specific gravity. And it should be around 1.0, 12, 14.
Okay, 11 o'clock. And we're fixing to brew it. And you let this cook for how long?
I bring it up to a boil, add the hops, and then cook it for an hour.
Okay.
Boil it for an hour. And here's the color. Yeah, boy. Get up a little bit.
What hops are those?
This is that Columbus.
Columbus.
That's what was in the IPA. And
And you'll put all that in there.
yeah, I'm just gonna.
And how much of the hops of those you put in?
This here is a
You put
1
all
ounce.
that in?
This is 1 ounce, yeah.
You put all that in there?
Yep. And then this is the Williamette hops. It goes in. It's the finishing hop. At about 10 or 15 minutes at the end of the boil.
was this?
I had an Irish moss, and it helps to clear. You put it in right before the end of the boil, and it helps clear the beer. Helps it settle out. Add 1 teaspoon of it. This is a yeast nutrient, just like fertilizer, that helps the fermentation. And I add a teaspoon of it right before the end of the boil.
You know what's it called?
It's a yeast nutrient.
Yeast nutrient. And you add it at the end of the boil?
About 20 minutes before the end of the boil.
Okay.
So this goes in right about 10, 15, 20 minutes before the end of the boil. This goes in at the start of the boil. Then that is the yeast. That goes in it after you get it cooled to about 75, 80 degrees.
Yeah. Okay, so it's been cooking for about 20 minutes. Still not boiling, but it's about 200 and temp is about 198, almost 200 degrees. And as soon as it starts boiling, we put in the 2 hops.
I put my hops in at about 200 degrees.
Oh, 200 degrees.
If you
Okay.
wait for it to boil, it'll boil over.
Boil over.
You know what?
So we're going to put in the hops in at 200 degrees.
Then you have water spray if it foams over, that you squirt water on it to keep it from boiling over. So here we go. The hops are going in at 200 degrees. This is the bittering hops. Okay.
And we'll let that cook another 40 minutes. And then you have the other hops to it?
Yes.
Yep. The other hops in that yeast neutralizer.
Yeast nutrient and the Irish malt.
The Irish moss, right. So what do these hops do? The other hops was the bitterness.
Bittering. This is your finishing hops and aroma for aroma. Gives it a little bit of flavoring and aroma at the end. Yeah.
Have you cooked any beer that you didn't put any hops in?
Yep.
You always put hops in it. Some more than others.
Yes. And see the alpha on this is like 5. Now on that Columbus it was 14. And on the Tettinger that I'm using in the Pilsner, it's like about 3.
What does that mean?
And that is the more flavor in it than the higher alpha it is, or like heat in a jalapeno pepper. It's more.
The higher the number
is the more
hoppier
it is.
Right. The lower the number, the more mild it is.
Yeah. Okay, we're at that boiling stage now.
Yeah.
Take that out. Don't need that anymore. Get my water over here in case it starts to boil over. And at this stage here, that's when it will really boil over. And so for the first 10-15 minutes, you kind of got to watch it pretty close. Turn your temperature down. This is when I need my stool out here. Yeah.
So the first 5 minutes, you got to be really careful of overflowing. Then after that, then it usually does that right there.
It'll kind of settle out.
Yeah.
I turn the flame down, and you want a kind of a rolling boil.
Right.
I guess they say you're supposed to, but so I kind of watch it pretty close.
And now it's cooled down to what, 60 degrees?
68 degrees.
68 degrees. And right now you're checking what?
The specific gravity at the end of the sparging part, then that's.
Okay, 0 is water, right?
0 is water.
Okay. So what are you looking at?
This is about a 12.
I mean, what do you want though? I mean,
well,
when you're brewing the beer, what would you like to have?
I want a 12 or 14, because.
So when you say 12, it's
1.012.
Right.
So your beer will start out at the higher